It is time, though, for the college football Kegger.
I'd like to know where Lou Holtz is right now.
Oh, I win.
Google me.
We're not hosting an intergalactic kegger down here.
Bobby, I don't know how this team has any coaches left on it. The Michigan Stafford situation, the Michigan controversy continues to roll on. A former employee, coach, staffer for Michigan under Jim Harbaugh says that Harbaugh told him to, quote, go to the line and cross it. He urged him to get guys on campus during the COVID dead period. It's a massive no-no in the NCAA's mind. I have no idea. You can't take the title away. Can't do that. But I have no idea how they let any of these coaches that were on that staff coach for the next X amount of years. I really don't know how they allow it to happen.
I mean, what they allow has been severely, lessened, like we've talked about in recent weeks. The NCAA's power is not what it once was.
Oh no,
even 2 years ago. So, look, if this was a couple years ago, they're ending careers. Now the best they can do is, Jim Harbaugh, you're suspended from a league that you don't coach in anymore.
Yeah, that's they can't do anything about him.
It's like if I divorced you and then you're telling me like, all right, because of what you've done, I'm not sleeping with you anymore. Okay, well, we're divorced. I don't see you anymore.
So from his standpoint, there is no there is no punishment for him. Now it comes to you got to punish the other people that were with him. That's what it is. You got to punish the new head coach, Sharon Moore. You got to punish all the staffers. You got to punish everybody.
Call it now. How many games does Sharon Moore miss?
Well, Jim missed 4 last year, right? I would say he misses. I mean, they gave Jim a 4-year show cause
for a different issue.
I'm just saying
this
was COVID. Yeah, this was the COVID dead period, and Moore's,
which was level 1.
That's level 1.
Level 1.
So was Moore's deleting text messages. Right, that was a level 1. I don't think they're not going to give him a 4-year show cause. I don't think he coaches this year.
Ooh, do you think they get CFP ban?
Yeah, maybe he coaches this year and they get the CFP ban. Maybe that's what it is.
I would be fascinated to see if the NCAA will allow that Michigan-Texas game to have all the juice taken out of it.
But it wouldn't have the juice taken out.
It would if you've got all these suspensions and ultimately Michigan can't even end up in the CFP.
But Texas can, and they can upset Texas.
They don't care about that.
Sure they do.
No, they would not. I mean, why would the NCAA care about that at that point? They want the intensity of like, we get a legit. It's just like the Alabama-Texas game they got last year. That was huge for them.
It was huge. It was absolutely huge.
If one of them was banned.
Okay, I understand that, but I'll tell you this from a viewer standpoint. From my standpoint, I would not change my viewing habits. I would still watch Michigan-Texas. It's still a good game. Michigan still has a chance to win. Texas still is fighting for a national championship. And I'll be honest with you, we don't know what the expanded playoff is going to do for regular season ratings anyway. Is the game already less meaningful than it was last year? Because now you have to you can lose. So in the history of the playoff.
Yeah, in the era of the expanded playoff, it's
right. But in the history of the 14 playoff.
Yep.
All right. So what we've had. There have been 25 SEC teams that had 2 losses.
Mm-hmm.
23 of them would have made a 12-team playoff had they had a 12-team playoff in those years, based on the rankings at the end of the season. So, does that not already lessen the regular season as it is? Sure, of course it does. You could lose 2 games and still make it if you're in the SEC.
Yeah.
So does that lessen the Michigan-Texas game anyway? I think so. But it doesn't I'd still watch. I think college football fans are still going to watch. Why? Because they're 2 mega brands that never play each other.
Yeah, now this specific thing, this is where it goes a little bit. I think that it's being misreported a little bit. We're leaving the preseason part out of this, Chop. If you want to draw a comparison to Jerry and CD. We're leaving the preseason part out of it. The quote was, none of these are direct quotes from, or even claimed to be direct quotes from Harbaugh. is that the campus director or the recruiting director said that Harbaugh had urged them to get guys to campus.
Get guys on campus and go to the line and cross it.
Right, but that was like presented yesterday in the media as a quote.
Right.
That he had said, go to the line and cross it. When in reality, the report says the recruiting director stated that as a general matter, the culture wasn't to be safe. The culture was to go to the line and cross it if you had to. So that's not even like a line that came from Harbaugh. That's the line that came from the recruiting director as like his interpretation of what the culture had been established as at Michigan. And so I don't know.
They're still banned in 4 years.
Yeah, no, and it's because they're so salty that they can't do anything about it. So they tried to be as hard ass as they could. But my guess is Sherrone Moore coaches this year. I don't know at what point, but he coaches this year, and there's no CFP ban.
None at all. Okay. All right.
That's my thought on it. That's where I think we're going.
Okay.
We'll pull this for receipts later. We'll see who's right.
We will. We will pull this for receipts. Dan Hurley, the head coach of the UConn Huskies, thought about going to the Lakers.
Total psycho.
What's that?
He's a total psycho.
He is an absolute nut job. Okay. He is absolutely a lunatic. Well, Dan Hurley was on a podcast, and he talked about a story that was talking. This is on the Ryan Russillo podcast. He was originally going to go to South Carolina. He wound up going to Seton Hall. He was originally going to go to South Carolina to play college basketball, and he just proved in this one statement that us folks in the South are just built a little bit different.
I visited South Carolina, incredible staff back then, Ryan. That was George Felton was the head coach. You had Jimmy Black, you had Joe Dooley, you had Eddie Payne. It was like a big time staff there. But I my last night of the visit was a Hootie and the Blowfish concert, which caused me to get on that airplane and just incredibly hungover. And I knew that there was no way physically that I could keep up with like a Southern school from a party standpoint.
Love it. There's no way. No, it's just different.
Would he have been able to keep up at Rocky Top with you?
That's tough. That was a scene.
How was Tennessee as a party school?
Pretty amazing. Like I don't know what it's like now, but it was pretty phenomenal. There's a reason that I had, of my first 3 semesters there, my GPA in 2 of them was a 1.0.
That's the best, right? 1.0.
1.0, yeah. Look, I mean, it's...
Can't get any better. You're number 1.
It's just a D.
Yeah.
It's just a D grade. Yeah. 1.0, 2.5, 1.0, and then I failed out of business school and went towards the media route, and it was quite easy after that.
Figured it out.
Yeah, figured it out, man.
Found a way. That is going to be the slogan. That's going to be the summation of RJ Choppy's life. He found a way.
Found a way.
No matter what it was. He found a way.
Found a way. I was a little disappointed, real quick, Bobby. They were talking about the schools that could kind of make their first playoff. And A&M has not made the college football playoff. And this is an expanded playoff to 12 teams. And A&M is a top 15 team in the nation. And they are not listed as one of the teams that could make their first college football playoff. It surprised the heck out of me.
They were not a good team last year.
No, but they got their quarterback back.
Yeah, I mean, they got their quarterback back. They've had a really strong recruiting class on the edge rusher side. Like the defensive recruits they've been able to solidify this class have been really strong. They've got a couple of interesting receivers there. So, I mean, A&M's got some talent, but A&M's always had talent.
Yeah, they have.
Like A&M, you could argue, has been, and this is saying something given how much Texas is disappointed at times. A&M, you could argue, has been, over the last 4 or 5 years, one of the most underperforming teams relative to their talent in the country. Probably the most underperforming.
Yeah, I mean, based on talent, probably are. Penn State is coming in at number 1, Missouri 2, then Tennessee, K-State, Ole Miss, Louisville, Boise State, and then Utah as the 8 most likely to make their first CFP appearance. What about some chaos, Bobby?
Chaos teams. Okay, so the idea behind a chaos team is the team that can just wreck things, has the potential to wreck the CFP because of big games they have along their schedule and the ability to play underdog and spoiler and ruin things. So CBS, even with the expanded 12-team playoff, which kind of changes how easy it is to be a chaos team, this is still something that exists and the parameters are still the same. And so CBS did their 5 potential chaos teams ready to wreak havoc on the CFP race in the 2024 season. Number 1 on this list, the Florida Gators, which everybody keeps talking about all this offseason, how bad their schedule, like how tough their schedule is. And they've got a ton of really tough games there, but that also presents the opportunity for they could wreck things for a number of teams. Home games against Miami, Texas A&M, Georgia, LSU, and Ole Miss. Road games against Tennessee, Texas, and Florida State. Just about every Saturday, the Gators have a shot.
That's a nightmare schedule. Like, I feel bad for Billy Napier.
Billy Napier, I don't feel too bad for him in general just because of the way he's run things. And so, it's kind of put up or shut up time, but I don't feel that bad for him. Georgia Tech. They say that the volatility of the team, just kind of, how the way they played, they were up and down, combined with games against Florida State, Notre Dame, Miami, and Georgia, which is the only road game of those games, makes Georgia Tech a team to watch. South Carolina is another one on this list. It says, this is the kind of sentence that will lead to an inbox full of angry emails, but South Carolina is here primarily for its bites at the apple more than my faith in its ability to be an above-average team. It says, I see a team like Florida as one that could compete for a playoff spot with an average schedule, and I'm not as confident in the Gamecocks. They've got games against LSU, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Missouri, road games against Alabama, Oklahoma, and Clemson, so a lot of different opportunities there. UCLA, I don't know if you've heard, they're in Los Angeles.
They are in Los Angeles,
Yep.
Yes, them and USC.
They are in Los Angeles, and they're listed as one of the teams here who could wreck shop. They've got a bunch of different games on their schedule where starting September 21st, there's a 3-week stretch that sees the Bruins on the road for LSU, home for Oregon, and back on the road against Penn State. That's 3 weeks in a row where you can do some damage. And then the final team on here, jump around, baby.
Boom.
Wisconsin. The Badgers are on this list. They get 3 chances to host teams considered playoff contenders, as well as road dates with at-large hopefuls like USC, Iowa, and Nebraska.
They're going to be jumping around. That stupid entrance.
It's a great song.
Stupid pregame they have. It is a great song. No doubt about that. There's your college football Kegger. Thank you, Bobby Belt.